When I was writing this talk, I did something that I think all good TED speakers did beforehand. I called my mom. Not because I needed ideas, trust me, I tried that, but because I needed her support. If my mom didn't agree with my talk, well, no one should. Behind every strong man and woman is a mother, a father, a teacher, a brother, a sister, someone who pushed them to the person they are today. When I was in middle school, I was on the executive board of my school student council. I know, quite authoritative. And in the beginning of the school year, the executive board held an assembly for the entire student council so that they could meet new members and learn about the importance of their role on student council. And I was in charge of a quite serious activity that was trying to display to my peers how many students around us are constantly put down, both mentally and physically. How they come to school each day in fear. They question their purpose in life and are never fully satisfied with their body, intelligence, and personality. And when the activity was over, I expected everyone to just leave and we could all finally eat the ice cream that was awaiting. Yet, these three girls, just a grade below me, came up to me with tears in their eyes. And they confessed their battles with eating disorders, anxiety, and a constant feeling that their body is never going to be good enough for society. It was this moment that I realized how terribly society deconstructs our next generation's doctors, poets, entrepreneurs, bus drivers, teachers. And I had read about these issues so many times, but it hadn't slapped me in the face the way these stories of these three girls have. Research shows that low self-esteem associates with depressive symptoms. In a 3-year study evaluating children, grades 3 through 6, they compared their self-perceptions to any self-reported depressive symptoms they gave. And they found that many of the subscales of the self-perception test, like behavioral violence, physical appearance, and intelligence, directly related to those depressive symptoms regardless of age, gender, and race. Please take a step back to realize what I just said. Depressive symptoms are forming in as young as 3rd grade. For many young girls, this stems from their physical appearance and their body shape. Now, it's 2017. I don't need to ramble how the proliferation of sexualized images in the media, marketing, and advertising is disastrous to both young boys and girls. And how that there are other pressures not only from the media, but from family and friends and peers in school to construct this perfect body shape and size. We know this. That's not why I'm here. Some companies are even working to improve upon this issue, using less Photoshop or using more healthy appearing models. But just recently, I was shadowing an OBGYN in the clinical setting. She had a very bubbly personality and had perfected the girl talk with all of her patients. And we saw many patients that day, all women between the ages of 20 and 55. All women who escaped middle school years ago. And I remember one patient in specific who could not stop talking about her weight and all of the diet apps, fads, and pills that she had been taking. And as a nursing and public health student, I couldn't help but wonder, okay, how is this impacting her overall health with such a large obsession? And so I did some research. Nadine Burke-Harris, a pediatrician in a poverty-stricken area of San Francisco, started an adverse childhood study that linked early childhood traumas and stress to overall health later on in life. And she measured her study using the Adverse Childhood Experience Score, or ACE score. The ACE score is a range from 0 to 10, having 10 questions. So 1 point for each childhood trauma that applies to the person taking the quiz. She asked over 17,000 adults, 70% of which were white and 70% of which were college educated. And she found that overwhelmingly enough, 67% of those in her study had at least an ACE score of 1. And 12% of those in her study had at least an ACE score of 4 or more. And her team and her found that someone with an ACE score of 4 or more was 2.5 times more likely to be diagnosed with COPD or hepatitis, 12 times more likely to be suicidal, 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with depression, and 3 times more likely to develop heart disease. And as I read of this study, I was shocked. I hadn't heard of it before, but to me, it changes the game of healthcare, and it changes the way I, as a future nurse, am going to treat my patients. And so I dove into the ACE quiz and the questions being asked. And I found 4 questions that directly and indirectly related to mental health and the self-perceptions of our children. Question 1. If often a parent or adult at home would insult or humiliate you. Question 3. If you have ever experienced unwanted sexual touching. Question 4. If you often felt unwanted, unloved, and unimportant. And question 9. If a household member was ever mentally ill or suicidal. So these childhood traumas can just be as easily applied to the mental health and self-perceptions of our young children, especially our young girls who constantly feel like they have to live up to this perfect body shape and size. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Safety states that women are more likely to develop stress, strokes, and heart disease, some of the same diseases in Nadine Burke's study. The brain is massively intertwined with the rest of the body. Nearly every single one of our cells is somehow related to the nervous system. So every single type of pain ensues in the brain, both physical and emotional. So the same type of pain I feel when I try to run over 2 miles is the same type of pain that young girl feels when she looks in the mirror. The hypothalamus and pituitary gland is that portion of our brain that puts our body into fight or flight mode. So low amounts of stress are healthy, but when this gland is activated over and over and over again, it's health damaging. And children are most affected by this because their brain is just beginning to develop patterns. So yes, it is 2017 and companies are finally breaking their overused Photoshop skills and unhealthy appearing models. But this is not enough. We now know that life in home, in schools, and what is still being displayed in the media lasts longer than an angsty teenage middle school phase, but in fact alters one's entire health for the rest of their lifetime. So where do we start? It starts with each and every one of us individually building our own self-love because it's contagious to everyone around you, especially to those at home. Know that small acts lead to big changes, and big changes lead to empowered men and women. For many young girls, they need that person in their life to show the self-love and bring the empowerment to their life, because heart disease is the leading cause of death for women in the United States. So everyone can work to lower this statistic by building self-love and spreading empowerment. Nurses, social workers, and physicians must note that a disease like heart disease is not just a diagnosis, but in fact a compilation of belittling and minimizing the power of our young girls. So when I called my mom before writing this speech, I wasn't looking for answers. I was looking for her self-love and her empowerment to give me a sense that I can do this. And every single person in our life needs someone like that, whether it's yourself, a parent, a teacher, a sibling, a neighbor. Everyone can spread self-love and believe that small amounts of encouragement have big effects on each and every one of your health. Thank you.